Have you ever wondered what snails are? Is it a notorious pest or something more? What is their role and how do they live? What are they fond of and what is incomprehensible about their habitat?
In the following video, you will find answers to the questions that surround the Ramshorn snail. How to care for snails, and how to understand their coexistence in nature as a whole. Let's focus our gaze on the snail and look at the visual delineation of the life form. The first is the most noticeable is house on his back that snail carries in his life adventure, which leads us to the expression of the house, which is protection from predators due to its notorious slowness of movement.
Cherry bobfish.
When the snail dies, its house remains and slowly dissolves. It can be left somewhere in the background where it is not visible and where the plants will use the dissolved elements.
Shell.
Under the house, we can also see the body of a snail, which is called foot, a muscular body of a snail. It uses it to move and hold onto the surface. Here are also two visible, shy, cautious tentacles that smell food in water current and carry snail's eyes, assisting in the search with visual perception of his surroundings. The snail's vision is poor. It is blurry and lacking in focus, basic forms of light and darkness perception.
Geronimo.
There is also a small mouth positioned in the lower part of head in constant search of food. In most cases, the snail eats algae on surfaces as it moves towards its destination, whether it is a higher concentration of food or breathing air at the surface. Snails feed on all forms of decaying matter of nutritional parts of plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, algae. They are also first messengers of a dying organism, which include everything listed above in the description of nutrition. There is no fear that the snail will eat healthy plants. It's just a case in situations that, when plants don't have their proper conditions for life met, then they become subject to the process of dying out. Feeding the snails does not require any complications or special diet. The basic whole food for the fish satisfies their appetite, along with the classic search for all other types of nutrients inside the aquarium. Feeding is key for snails. Feeding determines the very number and prosperity of a snail colony. If we feed the fish a little more food, there will be a good coverage for snails in form of leftovers that the fish did not eat. If we feed on feeling or several times a day, an explosion in numbers is inevitable. Let's look at the preferred water values for snails. Snails prefer water conditions in relation to neutral water pH at around 7.3. Lower value pH and high acidity of water can affect their houses and dissolves them, thus puts them in a non-existent part of life. If we keep snails in the aquarium, then the following parameters are recommended for Ramshorn snails visible on the screen. Thus, we cover all the necessary conditions for the life of snails and the basic understanding of snails within the natural community. There remains only one distinct characteristic of snails, and that is that they breathe air and must crawl or buoy to the water-air surface to breathe. And then re-immerse themselves in their adventure of living underwater. It is completely normal to see snails coming to the surface. If a large number of snails is moving towards the surface, is a good indicator of a chemical imbalance and water parameters that do not suit the life of snails. In the presence of dangerous chemicals, snails defend themselves with foam to protect themselves from exposure to the chemicals. If the water parameters are normal and a small amount of foam is visible on the surface of the water along the sides of the aquarium, this is an indicator that the snails are in reproductive expansion. In the reproduction part, snails lay their eggs in a small gelatinous sac, usually on the leaves of plants, or on surfaces where the nutritional part of the sediment accumulates. Here we can see two stages of snail eggs. Newly laid eggs and eggs, in which snails are already almost equal to adult snails in physical development. They hatch as micro-snails that slowly conquer the vastness of their habitat, which is the most vulnerable phase for snails. In the case of insufficient nutrition for fish, in their habitat, snails become a target for fish as food. Now that we have demystified snails, we can integrate them into our community of nature aquarium habitat as natural helpers.
Hip, hip, hooray!
Ramshorn snails are not vibrant or colorful or flashy or the center of attention, but they are dedicated helpers in the work of balancing nature. This brings us to the end of our little journey with the Ramshorn snails, knowing everything basic necessary for Ramshorn snails. We have 2 questions left.
What attracted me to snails and what fascinates me about them?